are we planning to enter into IPO market?
2024 was the target for us to enter the IPO market. Almost we finalized our merchant banker also, and then in the next few months it should be announced as well. Marchish, April is where the announcement or something would happen. So it is expected around that time. We're the first Indian company to be approved by those governments, especially towards the western end of the region. Hopefully by 2025, once our plants are ready also. So that's going to be extremely active. Plans, I think globally, it's over a few billion dollars. The world is at its maximum, right? We all know there's going to be acceptance. Okay. We all believe when we start something that we're damn good at it. We have specially decided that in 2025, we're putting up an entire R&D sector to this line that we have more than 50 odd products in just one sector now. There are global tie-ups that we are having, and they have gone really, really well.
Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of Supremus Angel podcast series. I'm your host Mayur, and today we have a very special and most awaited episode of this series. Today we have with us Mr. Unmesh Trivedi. He's the managing director of BLSX India. I would love to welcome Mr. Unmesh Trivedi, and I would love if you tell our audience about yourself.
Hi, my name is Unmesh Trivedi. I'm the director of BLSX Limited, India. And thank you for having me on your show. And over the period of our conversation, you will learn a lot more about us and our organization. Thank you, Mayor.
So starting with our first question, how it all started, sir?
Wow, that's quite interesting. It was a long time ago, so I'll have to go back. It's going to be a big flashback. But we were having a conversation just before we started. I used to work in an IT company, an IT job, just like every other enthusiastic Indian in the early 2000s was, but I was absolutely clueless. In the first month itself, I realized that this is not where I belong. So then I was trying to figure out where exactly is my inclination towards. So I was figuring out things. Was it sports? Was it, other divisions? That's when I joined a company and I worked with them for a few months, and then joined my father in the manufacturing sector and started learning about machineries and all, because it was better to do something than sit at home. So that took me there and learned about, how lathe machines work, to how manufacturing works, to how mixing mills work, basic things about machines. And over a period of time, when I was doing that on the floor, on the job, I realized that this is something that I really like. And that got this inclination towards me that I wanted to be in the manufacturing sector. But in what field? Manufacturing sector is so vast, especially in India, and we are such a big industrial country. So I wanted to also not be a burden on my father, because I had to add value to what he was doing. So I needed to find out something of my own, what I wanted to be in and which division I wanted to go in. So then I had to take a good amount of loan from my father and requested him that I would like to travel around the world to all the major industrial countries to go and learn what is it that I really want to do, and what is it that is not lacking, but we are far behind in India, or it's not present at all, which is not being done. And during those days, things were different, 15, 16 years ago. So it was something that I did, and I traveled around the world to figure out what I wanted to do. And that's when it clicked. Okay, this is exactly where we want to start. And that's how it had all started.
Okay. And when did you, first identified the potential in this particular space?
Yes, that's quite interesting. So in fact, when I was traveling over different places, and because I was not sure that, what is the market feasibility in India going to be also for these things. So after that, we had to do our market survey. So I'd spent quite some time over there. So I traveled within the country also, going different regions, traveling with my father, whether traveling with our salespeople, traveling with our different teams, going to regions, going to the mining sectors, going to the port areas, to understand exactly what is the market in India like. Because we didn't even have studies in the sectors that we were trying to focus on. Because like I said, our speciality is about trying and being in the unique line of business where there are no or almost minimal competitions, minimal people in that sector. So for us to do that survey that time had taken a long time.
So you are on the ground level, you're doing the survey?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. I had done it personally on ground level. I would go to the most rural areas and spend quite a long time over there.
So how is that experience?
Fantastic. I think everybody must do it, and every youngster must do it. Because going to those regions, when back then we had no accessibilities, there were no telephones, there was no mobile phones. I mean, very minimal signals, so it was not there everywhere. And finding your places out, and to understand where the smallest of your market possibility could be, because near the mining regions where we were, there were like smaller stores, there were smaller shops, smaller towns. In the cities, you'd still find things. So to go and ask them that this is what we want to do. So it was like literally being a door-to-door salesman. But that's how you learn on the job. From there, then we had figured out that, okay, this is the region which belt we want to work in. Yes, there is a huge scope and there is lack of availability. So that inclined me towards going towards that. And that, one by one things started adding up. And so we started manufacturing from a very small little product until going into dredging sector, which was the ultimate goal after realizing that the market survey, that this is what I wanted to do.
Okay. And so there's a point where you are mentioning that you travel the world. So many people say that traveling gives you the best knowledge you can possibly get. So what part of the world that you learned the most?
Yeah, unfortunately, I've not traveled the world,
Okay.
but I mean, there's a lot more to travel in
Yeah.
life. But how
Particular
much ever
parts,
I did,
yeah.
yes, you're right. But in parts like the West showed me a very different side of work ethics and stuff, the quality, the standards that they maintain, and it's tremendous to see that, and also the technologies that they have. But the East is where it really taught me a lot of things. Because especially, I'll mention this, that even our neighbors, that's the country where I think was the most, I was enthralled by. I kept going repeatedly, is to just see how every 6 months the country changes, how their, technology changed in manufacturing sector and how advanced they were getting. And we had started at the similar time, at the same time for the Industrial Revolution. The industrialization rather, in the 90s, where India was growing. And so that has really helped me adapt to that sort of where I would see one person working on 8 machines and still doing his things. He still got the time. So it felt like more of that the entire community was together to try and grow the nation. So that really inspired me that, okay, we need to do something. So East has taught me a lot, and a lot of nations in the East are like that.
And so you were started with the one sector. Now you're means catering so many sectors. How that works for you?
Yeah, so Mayur, we only had a plan to do one thing.
Yeah.
Right. Initially, it started off as one thing, but I think things started coming towards us because I was always up for something that is unique. I would not even have a discussion over something that probably I didn't know, or that were too many players in the sea for that. But I really was always keen that whatever we do, we're going to be best at it. Either we're the only ones, or there are few people who are doing it, but we're going to be best at it, either by the standard of qualities and stuff. I'll give you an example before I take it forward. Like after the kind of products that we started making, the sector in India, which has been helping out the dredging sector, our life of the pipelines that we're giving has tremendously increased. What that helps is that, the breakdown time or overhauling time, every time a pipeline comes back, there's a huge loss to the dredging companies, which are major giants, because there's a lot of sand that needs to be removed from the sea. So every haul or every puncture of a pipeline, or any damage that happens, they need to bring the whole thing back. It's a huge man hours. There's a loss of hundreds of thousands of tons.
Yep.
So it's a huge loss to them. So that has changed the game. So for me, it was very particular to be whatever we're doing, we're going to be good at it.
Okay.
So from one sector, second, it just came to us, and then I spent time over, studying again about it. It's always the same cycle back. You have to go back and realize that, okay, this is my survey. Again, everything I need to do start from zero. So when we're doing that, that's when I realized, again, there is a scope where we can be really, really good at it. Because best is too strong a term. I mean, there is people around the world, but be your best at it and deliver something where is going to improve the overall, man hours that everybody else who are involved in. We are just making a product and supplying to them. So with that attitude, what has happened is that, even the other sectors that we've gone into, whether it's mining, whether it is the aerospace that we're starting, we want to ensure the best quality product. It's not always about, the volume based or the profitability that will follow over the years over success. But for us, it was to change that, revolutionize even the pipelines that we use. Right now, we're working overseas in a lot of, Middle East and GCC countries where we have got a lot of projects that we've recently executed. We are the first Indian company to be approved by those governments.
Great, sir.
Yeah, and nobody else has been in that sector, whether it's the pipeline things, whether it's for the dredging industry, seawater discharges, or whether it is. So we're the first ones. even for portable water, and there's so many other things. So it is a very proud moment for us because that is the reason of why their efficiency is increasing also, and we're the first Indian company to be approved.
Yeah.
Where it changes the mindset at least globally that yes, we do make quality products, and not just in IT sector but also in manufacturing. We're good at it.
Great, sir. So what? So achieving all these things, you have to be very strict with your disciplinary actions. Okay. So what thought process or work ethics do you follow?
Wow, quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I mean, I don't think we've achieved it all. We're still on the
Yeah.
journey,
Yeah.
and it's a long way to go. But like you said, I mean, getting even there to where we are, it's a very proud moment for me and everybody who's involved, our team, and it's everybody's effort together. Ultimately, I wouldn't say it's just a family because it's a lot more than that, And people have been with us for so long. But there's one thing I'll tell you. Yes, like you said, my work ethics. I was a very lazy guy. Growing up, I would not like to do anything. All I wanted to do is just play and relax. But over the years, I changed, and getting into the fitness side of it also changed a lot. 15 years or more than, 17 years I've been working out. That got a lot of discipline in life. And when I started seeing positive results, even the smallest of little things, right? It excites you to get up the next day and do something. But to feel that way, to feel that positive way, first you need to do something. Like we all decide, it's New Year right now, and everybody's decided that from the first we're going to join the gym, but it doesn't ever happen. The Monday doesn't come, the first doesn't come, right? Just get up and do things, and once you start doing it, you'll start seeing changes in yourself. So I have a pretty strict regime. I wake up very early in the morning. I spend a few hours with myself, meditate, do my morning workouts and stuff, then plan my day and start my day. And that helps me because before I go to work, 50% of my work is done because I've already written it down. I've already planned it down. I just need to go and get it executed. And until, say, lunch or something, I'm working with the team and all. And post that, that's the time for me where I think about how we're going to grow the company. And then once the office hours are done, I come back and again go to the gym. I finish my workout, and then I spend another hour with myself, hour and a half, planning. Okay, this is what I planned today for the growth thing. How exactly is it going to be executed? So that's the structure, and I do not have much time for television or anything, and I don't do that.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that's
So
the
you are
structure.
means you're completely off the social media platforms and
There are one or two things there on social media, but pages which are very inactive from. But
okay, so you don't go through all the social media stuff.
No, I do. I do see reels and all that stuff. I take a break. You need a mental thing, but I do not go into television. I do not have that expanded period. I would love to on a Sunday or something if there's something worth doing it. But yeah, I prefer going out and playing a sport. I prefer going and probably interact with the circle of friends that I have. That because I believe that really helps you grow when you exchange ideas, knowledge, experiences in life. And I have a big circle of very close friends. And everybody's from a different sector, so it really brings up different ideas and opens up different avenues.
Yeah. So talking about the work, and if we have to mention your team, like who is your key players in your team and how they match your thought process.
Yes, like you said, team for me is extremely important. We have some fantastic set of people. I'll begin with firstly, of course, the main chairman of our company, my father. His guidance and leadership, and Mr. Vipul Trivedi, his vision towards how we wanted, and his backing. That I've had absolute free hand to do what I wanted to do, whether it was risk. He has been a great support to me also in understanding that sometimes I can get blinded by my vision.
Yeah.
When it's your vision, you always think you're right and you've thought it through.
Yeah.
But that's when you need somebody who's got more experience and some clarity with you to make you realize, okay, you're going in the right path, but probably this is not the way. You got to slow down here. You got to.
There should always be a mentor around.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and not just a mentor, but also he's like a very good friend of mine who does give me the right kind of advices. And whether I listen or not, irrespective of that, no, I do. So, but it really makes a difference. And so it's him definitely. And then overseas, internationally, right now, my sister, Vivek Trivedi, she is looking at certain aspects of these things, and I've always looked up to her, tremendous amount of growth. I always believe women have that great wisdom that all of us lack. Our gender lacks. So her sense of growing the business, and she's going to be very actively involved in growing this overseas, especially towards the western end of the region. Hopefully by 2025, once our plants are ready also. So that's going to be extremely active. Then we have a team of, GMs, of guys who've been working. Mr. GVS is there, and then Vishal, our technical guy, and production guy, Ramakrishna. All these guys have been phenomenal, and they come with plethora of experiences, like 20, 25 years in the industry. Most of them have been with us for tens of decades and all, tens and 15s of years. And over the period of time, sometimes it happens that over 20, 25 years you've been doing something, and then suddenly this guy comes and like I have rejuvenated also them, making them realize that there is still more gas left in all of us, and we need to get to something. Let's again restart. Why? We've reached a good platform. It's not going to be the end. This is just the beginning. We got to keep pushing forward. We do not know where all we're going to reach. Similarly, even they pep me up, and he's like, don't worry, sir, we're all together, and we're going to get this through. We're going to go to this sector. We're going to get into this countries. So we're exploring so much, which I don't think in our line of work any Indian company has done that. The countries and the outlook that we are having, and people are being so active. And we're really kind. And most likely, of course, I would like to thank my partners from the Middle East. They've been a great team. Our last few years, the camaraderie that we've had, it's a giant group over there. And the way we have grown because of their support and their confidence. So that's a massive team that we have over there of, 80 or 100 people over there. And they're backing with us to cover the entire Middle East region and get into the dredging sector over there. It's been tremendous. It's taken us a lot of work. We've put in a couple of years, but we've all been very positive about it. It was also my sometimes overconfidence that has made us take a step back. But yes, I think it took us in the right direction. And here we're looking at tremendous amount of projects from the Middle East, which we started getting great response towards the end of 2024. Which I was telling you that we are the first ones to get approved by the government of those regions.
Yeah. So talking about the projects, I would love to talk about your markets, the market size and the target market that you are looking for.
Wow. Okay. So the market size, if we just look at one sector, let's say dredging, right? For the pipelines, I think globally it's over a few billion dollars, right? We and India are quite behind. We are not a very big dredging country, but now in the last 5 to 7 years, it has grown tremendously. That is, there are three reasons for it, right? Firstly, we have one of the longest coastlines, of course. Apart from a few countries from the west and east, we have one of the longest coastlines. Second thing is logistics has become so important. Right now, anything that we want is that, we order on the phone and it's going to be delivered to your house. Now, when that's being delivered, how's it coming? 80% of the world runs on shipping. Now, the number of ships that are going to come to your port, that's the number of goods of exchange of, import and export that is going to happen. Now, for that, you need ports and you need development, right? So now to build ports, and in the last 10 years, I think the government has done a fantastic job in growing major ports, and there are so many coming up. There is so much construction work happening in India. So where do you get the sand from? You had to remove it from the sea. So that has pumped up the dredging industry, and it has already increased by threefolds in India. And by 2030, it is projected to increase another 3 to 4 times in just the next 6 years. It's huge. So in India itself, it's, tens of millions of dollars. Whereas in the Middle East, where we are focusing on, it's hundreds of millions of dollars. And I'm just talking about the pipeline. I'm not talking about the industry as such. The industry is even bigger. The dredging industry is massive. Dredging works and infrastructure. Just the pipeline parts it's huge here, and then Middle East is one of the biggest places. We all know.
Middle East started their construction long back.
Sorry?
The Middle East started their construction long back.
Correct. And because they had lack of land, so they started building islands.
Yeah.
Right. And you can't use this sand from the desert to make it. So that's how they started removing it. And now India is growing so much. We are such a vast country. Every region, every state, everybody is pumping in to build their infrastructure. And for all of that, you need, the dredging sand. So that is really pushing the Indian dredging industry of just our pipeline requirements and, things that we're doing. And then you have the West, and then you have the East. It's massive. So that's just one sector. The mining industry is growing tremendously, especially in the African region, in the Middle East region, where we are in fact exhibiting also in a couple of months, where we are one of the biggest giants for mining and for petrochemicals is based there. So we are going and exhibiting, meeting them. So we are so actively involved. Even in fact, this year we had gone to 3 countries in the East to exhibit. We'd gone to 2 in the West. We've gone to Middle East to exhibit. It's a constant change of rereading out. And somehow I feel that, in the lines that we're going, whether it's marine or whether it's mining, we rarely find Indian companies, except for 1 or 2. So we are not going out and putting ourselves out there, which we are doing it. Because that's how the world is going to know that we exist, right? So that industry is growing. Aerospace is at the highest ever than ever it was. So we are getting in at the right time where India is building that infrastructure for aerospace companies, especially in line of what we are doing, the polymer sector, for it to grow tremendously. And we have the facilities, the machineries, automation, which is required for it. And everything's available overseas. So we are importing a lot of machines from places which we require to make. And then there are some really good Indian machine companies which are going ahead and setting it up this year.
Okay. So next question is very interesting. Every industry has its trends. Okay. So what are what trends do your industry follows, like dredging, rubber, aerospace, infra?
Oh, the trends.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, the dredging trends, like I said, I was just telling you about the trend is right now because the world is at its maximum, right? We all know there's going to be a population decline in other countries because of one child policy, but not in India. So we are only growing. And the more number we grow, the more housing we need, the more roads we need. And we have at least 30 years of work left ahead in us, as a country to be developed for infrastructure to be at a certain standard. So for 30 years of that, for that construction and building, where are you going to get the sand from? So that's the dredging industry is going to solve you that. The more number of people, the more number of, India is being a massive industrial manufacturing giant now. Everybody from the world is coming and setting up their plants here. So all these products are going to be exported. So your ports, your shipping industry, your port building, maintenance, everything is going to go up, right? So that dredging side. Rubber is something, it's at the all-time high. The growth for the rubber trends, requirements of rubber, whether it's natural rubber or synthetic rubber, is also because of the number of cars that are being bought. Sheer number of population equates, earlier we would have 1 car for 1 family. Now there are 3 cars for 1 person. It's turned around completely. So your tires, your components, whether it's electric cars, everything you need tremendous amount of rubber. So even for our product, polymers and rubbers that we need. So that is an all-time high. Like you said, for aerospace, the number of flights that are being conducted, especially after COVID, if you see, the number of airlines that have ordered, like even in India, Indigo, whether it's Air India, they've ordered hundreds of airlines, aircrafts from Airbus and from Boeing. So it's an absolute all-time high, and people are spending more, they're traveling more. So the number of frequency of flights have also increased between
definitely.
cities. I know, from the city I come to Mumbai, there are about 30, 40 flights a day. That was unheard of before, So for every destination, everything is increasing. So for us, that's a great deal of, positive look at things. I'm not very sure of how much of, it is going to have an environmental impact, but we are looking at the positive side of it, that it's great for our line of work, for our business.
Last 10 to 15 years, it has grown massively because of the internet boom or anything like that.
Yes, totally. I think, internet boom has changed a lot. Of course, e-commerce has been a major player for, a lot of shipping and all that stuff that has happened. But it's also, I think, a requirement. We have all understood that once we start traveling, that this is the minimum standard of living that we're going to maintain and we're going to have.
Yeah.
So everybody expects the best for themselves. So they started I feel the last 10, 15 years, we started working a little harder, and then we started buying a lot of things. We're all going to live a good life. So they started traveling more, they started buying things more, started spending more money. We were a very different society, a little more conservative, saving money and keeping it. Now everybody's just splurging. And after COVID, like I said, there's no assurance of life or, when's the next pandemic going to happen. So everybody's a lot more open to things. And also technology. Since automation has come in, the kind of technology, the cars that you drive, the cars, in the last 15 years, if you see the technologies that have changed in whether it's automobiles, whether it's your gadgets, whether it's your phones, your laptops, everything that we're using is just phenomenal, right? So that has brought in a lot of change. I completely agree with you on that. And it's the exposure. Sometimes it's overexposure for a person like me, but it's good.
So building this company, what challenges did you face and how did you tackle those challenges?
Wow, now that I think of it, I can't think of the challenges, but
Yeah.
they were certainly. I mean, like there were quite a few. See, I'll tell you. First is acceptance. Okay, we all believe when we start something that we're damn good at it, right? Because nobody is going to start and give products which are not good. So we had this belief system that I had this belief system that I'm very good at what I'm doing and I'm going to go and everybody's just going to buy it. It doesn't work like that, right? Absolutely. First thing that you have to face is rejection. So the first acceptance is that you have to accept rejection. Nobody's they're going to tell you that, why should I buy from you? What are the qualities that you have? There is nothing, your pricing is not right, and you're not proven. So it took me a lot of time to realize that I first need to make my product tested, get the right quality assurances on that, get the right certification, and then only there is going to be an acceptance of my product. So first I had to accept rejection, which was very difficult in the initial phase because when you just come out of college and you think you're going to conquer the world, but it doesn't happen. So that was one of the challenges that we had. Second thing was finding the right skill set. So we are in a sector where, in this particular line of manufacturing sector, when not everything is dependent on the machine or just an operator. It's also there's a huge design aspect behind this. Okay, and it's completely negated or neglected in our line of work. People do not realize that there's a tremendous amount. This whole thing, that's why it's called rubber technology and designing of these things. So people who are in that field would understand that it's really, really technical work. This is like pro engineering stuff. So to find the right skill set who are from this, that would take a long time. And then you find somebody else, you need to train a lot of people. So that was a big challenge. So because when you try and get something new or want to create something new or the first time, right, you're not going to find people. If you're only you're going to do the same thing that somebody has done, 100 other people have done. So you're going to find a lot of, people around and skill set who've done it. So that was a big challenge for us. Then third thing was also to decide how are we going to take our growth span from here? Okay, is it we going to be limited to India and that's why we're going to be happy with it? Or are we looking at overseas market? Now, three things had happened in that which made me choose that, okay, we have to expand. There is no option left. First thing was weather, right? Because every time monsoon hits, everything comes to a standstill, right? Whether it's construction industry, infrastructure, whether it is our mining industry. Mining is the only thing that works for dewatering, but otherwise mining per se is stuck. Then, your dredging industry comes at a standstill because you have something called spawning. So the fishes lay eggs, so it's not allowed or it's at a lowest level at that time. So it's like 3 or 4 months and now monsoons are so long, we cannot not work. We need business. Which are the countries which are not going to have monsoon? So we started identifying that, during that period. So that's where you go and target the audience. Second thing was our market at that time, market cap was very less in India when we had started off, like I was telling you. But the last 10 years has completely changed it. So that was the second reason for us to, focus outside, that we have to look outside just within our countries. And third thing, I was like, what is the point of being, a king of your own, what do you call that? Kingdom, very small, limited thing, because there is no competition. So you feel like, you're really good at what you're doing. No, go out there, test your product. That's how you're going to come to know if there's somebody better than you. If yes, then we would start learning from them. So that was the drive that I had, that I was like, these are the three reasons we have to.
In India, that past 4 to 5 years, we are having unicorn companies boom, startup boom. So I want to know, the many people tend to forget about R&D part, R&D research part. They don't mainly focus on that part. Do you think it is important for any of the business to focus more and give importance to R&D?
But I think this is the best question of the podcast. I really like it. See, now you have touched something which is really close to me also.
Means I wanted to ask you in the first place, but then I was like, नहीं अभी नहीं, market के time पूछ लूँगा.
नहीं correct है बिल्कुल. Very nice. Because R&D एक चीज है. See, India, we are not a country which has ever believed in R&D. Please don't get me wrong, anybody who's hearing this, because we have only done, we have followed, like, majority of the West used to make 70% of the products. 30% was done by, the Japanese towards the East, and now our neighbors are doing it, right? We were never believed to be a country in R&D. Even our neighbors were only doing imitation. There was only Germany, US, and Japan that was doing it. R&D is something where we had lacked. And that was the reason no new development or no innovations were happening in India. They were happening also, nobody knew about it because nobody was pumping in money over here to do that. We are not, though we have the best of the engineers, best of the brains over here who are available, and people who are scientists and all. It is so essential. If you see the trend, like you said, unicorn companies are coming and startups are booming and all. It is phenomenal. It is only happening because, again, like I said, exposure. These are all kids who've gone, studied, or they've got that exposure right now because of different platforms that you have, an internet boom that has happened. That they, even if they've not traveled or something, they're able to reach out to that knowledge and try and create something. That attitude has changed in today's generation, where they want to create something new, and that has gone into research and development. We are still not at that stage that we are trying to do an R&D for things that are already existing. We are trying to still try and innovate and all. That's a different line where we can talk about, like, innovation is still back there. We are still trying to improve what already things exist, and which is still tremendous. And there is this, like I said, the newest generation is like they're really even creating and innovating things, which is tremendous. It is extremely important. So for us as a company, we have specially decided that in 2025 we are putting up an entire R&D sector. We are having our own in-house laboratories, massive laboratories, testing facilities. We are setting up our factory in that just for R&D, and there are going to be a team involved only to try and do that. One, first to try and match up the global standards of manufacturing that we are probably still have to attain,
Yeah.
right, of the product line, so that we are called someday, in one of the best of the manufacturers in the world. Second, how do we improvise on that, and what are the new technologies that we can get in? So we've got a lot of fresh minds, and we are also planning to hire a lot of engineers, straight out of college. Okay, you make a sensor for us. Okay, you make this thing for us, and how can we incorporate that into all our different products, which can add value? It's a USP of trying to sell. I completely agree. It's a selling technique, but it's also going to add some value somewhere. So for that, R&D is extremely important. So we have to, and we are all very young. We also, but also our team is very young. So everybody is very enthusiastic, and this is going to give opportunity to these upcoming engineers and team, scientists and people who are interested in this to come and experiment. We are giving them that open ground with their facilities. That come and do this. How can we improvise it? Do your designing, do your things, and we know that it's not going to happen overnight. It will take some time, But that's how we want to push the new generation. So I really, really have a keen focus on R&D. And that is our main line. We're getting some machines and we're manufacturing certain products, which, again, that's a constant process we are always going to have. We have expanded so much into this line that we have more than 50 odd products in just one sector now. And everything is unique. So we're getting some machineries and manufacturing it over here, which has never been done in India. There's no technology. People have not heard of it. And we're going to try and revolutionize a different sector altogether in that. So R&D is the most important thing. Absolutely. And spend years over it. I have no problem. People should.
We talked about market, we talked about R&D, your work experience. So I want to touch on the thing that you have so many clients over last 15 years. And how is your experience with the domestic clients, the international clients?
Yeah. See, clients, I believe, are you'll face all sorts of clients, over your, because it's been a long time that I've been in this. Domestic clients are very nice. They are extremely easy to work with, as in, the terms and conditions or the contract that is applied with that. It's pretty easier. But yes, and it's also slightly difficult with the domestic clients in certain, ultimately it comes down to the payment cycle and all. So that way, there is a little, I think we as Indians need to change that, our commitment policies, of certain things. But they are also, their hands are tied. They are dependent on XYZ, contractors or the local governments or, person signing the things. I understand. But domestic clients have been good. They were the first ones who gave us that opportunity to come into this line and, come in to explore this. And they've been great partners with us. Some of the giant companies that we work with in India are tremendous. They're fantastic. Whether it's work, whether it is, the product line, whether it's placing the order to getting your payments, that cycle is spotless. Yeah, perfect. There are 2-3 giants which everybody knows who are into the sector. So they're fantastic. Yes, there are mid-levels one, it happens upon each, but we've never had a bad experience. Touch wood. Until now. Overseas, it's a different ballgame together. You have to be on point. Like, you have to have the best of the team. You need to get the best of the facility. And that's why we're upgrading again ourselves. We need to be there. the expectations of your client over there has to be to the T, because if you're working for a different country's government, they have a completely different standard, right? Somebody follows the American standard, somebody follows the European standard. We follow our Indian standard, right? So for them to follow that, they're extremely strict. And most of the people who are working in those organizations are from the West, right? So they are those thorough, and they're like, we are not going to let this go through unless it is accepted. Every single point there has to be a conformity. There cannot be a non-conformance, otherwise it doesn't go through. So that really teaches you quality assurance. Sometimes as Indians, we always feel at the start, "Arey, why is this required? This not." No, it is. You'll realize over a period of time how important your quality checks, your quality assurances are, how technically good you'll be, and that makes you foolproof. Payments is never a worry overseas. It's great. I mean, it either comes in advance, and thankfully the organization in our sector that we work in, it's always custom designed. So it's always in hand first, and then you design it. So overseas clients are been massive boom. Like I was telling you previously, our partners over there in the Middle East who we've are working with and tied up, and we have some great mega plans in the coming 2 years together.
So as you mentioned about the planning part, so I just want to know, curious about it. Ki, what are your future plans or future expansions?
Yeah. So yes, we have major plans, in fact, which was supposed to be should have been executed by 2024 end, but due to certain delays and circumstances, like I said, things don't happen just when and where you want it. But in 2025, we're setting up plants. We're setting up plants in Hyderabad. One is almost, I mean, the work has begun, and it is almost, the machineries have been finalized, and we're going ahead with it. In fact, my team is traveling in the next 2-3 days to go and see the equipment and finalize that. Okay, everything is fine. So we're setting up plants in Hyderabad. Then we're setting up another. We're looking to acquire another specific plant which is already ready to set up our one particular sector of manufacturing that we want to do. The plants that we already have, then we are getting, like I told you about aerospace sector. For aerospace also 2025 is the target. Then on 2025 we have to have it on and running, along with all the quality checks, the team building, whatever we need to do has to happen. And we are going to be very strongly working on being a women's team, which I have always believed in it. Having, majority of the team, or maybe 80 to 90% of the team, is going to be run by women. And that's going to give a completely different drive towards that sector, where we have a very good technical person who's going to be closely associated with us, or join us very soon. In fact, he already has been very closely associated with us. He will head it, and along with him, the entire women's team would be managing the entire aerospace sector. So that will happen in 2025, that we are certain of. We have certain expansion plans which are in talks about, there are global tie-ups that we are having, and they have gone really, really well. Like also with our team from the Middle East that I was mentioning earlier, to set up a manufacturing plant here. So we're almost on the verge of it. And hopefully 25, even that production plant should start. So that will be a completely different sector which we are targeting, which I was telling you about. It's a technology that's coming to India for the first time. Mm-hmm. So our focus from now on has changed, because we've been there in the market. We've got a great growth rate. The business is growing on its own, with more and more, companies getting into it, the business expanding in India, business expanding in the Middle East. But my focus towards from now on is only for global tie-ups. Because I personally believe that, you cannot do it alone. You cannot, if I'm going to believe that, I'm going to change the entire manufacturing sector in India, it's not going to happen. It is only going to happen through collaborations. So it's time for everybody to collab. So we are collaborating with the companies from Middle East and or from, partners we're looking over world over, in fact, to set up some of the best facilities within the country which can supply, manufacture, and cater to the entire world. So that's our focus. And 2025, we are going to deliver. There is no, we're not left with a choice now.
So talking about the current competition, so what key strategies do you use to stay ahead of them?
Competition?
Yeah.
Is there any? No, I'm kidding. No, sorry. That's not what I mean. There is, of course. But I don't look at them as competition, honestly. I've learned a lot from them. And, this is what keeps us running. Because what happens is, if there is no competition, we always get pompous about things, that it gets into your head. It hasn't. The reason being, see, I don't, like I said, I don't look at them as competition. This is something, but I look at them as a, I get to learn from them. And I'm talking about globally, not just within the country, but globally, all the countries, wherever these, there are manufacturers who are like us and stuff. See, work is always going to be distributed. I cannot eat everything, right? And it's never going to happen. That's not how it works. So, but whatever portion we can or we deserve, we will get it because of the hard work that we're putting in. So, for me to try and how I'm going to change that is set up the best of facilities to have as many global tie-ups as I can, so that I can be a major player in the market, try and be a little ahead of them in terms of technology, a little ahead in terms of being a little proactive. I think somewhere or the other, also my age plays a factor, because being young and, I can run around doing everything and I still have that zeal in me. So I want to be a little technologically advanced. I want to gather the best team. I want to gather the best machineries that are out there to manufacture, which even, like I said, every 6 months, the technology in manufacturing is changing. In fact, every month now. So even something that we set up in a year's time, like in 2025, what we do, and if somebody had done that in 2023, we're still 2 years ahead of them because of manufacturing technology. And similarly, they might go ahead, but we'll again keep adapting. So we want to keep ourselves updated with that. Our entire force is towards doing global types. So that's the quicker that we do it and get them to India to manufacture along with us, that's going to keep us on the, a little bit on the front seat.
Okay. So I heard about your planning, future expansions, and so this is very interesting question about how you are how you're are going to tackle the expansion of customers and how you retain your customers. That is that would be very interesting to know how you retain your relationship with your customers.
Yeah, see, one thing I think customers and that relationship is, it always comes down to finally how is your human relation with them. It starts with that because they trust the human before the product, right? So I think the belief that they have, one is always reach out to them for anything. Second thing, be always extremely honest to them. Not everything goes smooth. Things have not sailed smooth with us in every project that we are doing, or every manufacturing. But the thing is, we always try and cover it up and we hide it, and we do not let the truth go out to them. Okay, this is where things are going wrong, and I'm sorry, but because you want to protect yourself, you want to protect your money invested in all that. But if you're honest to them, the amount of trust that you will build, they might be upset for a minute or two, or maybe an hour or a day, and then you'll realize, okay, he's honest. Rework on it because your delivery schedules are not there. So we make sure that our delivery schedules are on point. Whatever commitment that we are giving them, we must deliver. Third thing is that, God forbid anything goes wrong, we are there to replace everything. That confidence, and we give it in writing. And I'm always a call away. I'm always available on phone call unless I'm in a meeting or having a chat with you. But otherwise, I would always be available. So this is something retainership, and it's like a human relationship. See, we've gone extremely close to certain of our clients where they have that faith and belief that, okay, they're not going to do no wrong. And the main thing is you have to deliver. Your product has to deliver ultimately. So that's how we retain them. And building new customers, I think, how we're going to cater to them also, because that is why we exactly know who we are reaching out to, how much is going to expand, that we needed new plants. We cannot even suffice to the requirements otherwise. So we need, again, it comes down to, reaching out to them, finding out different regions, finding out different countries, and then committing. Whatever you commit to, you got to deliver. If we give them a timeline of 12 weeks and we don't do anything for 6 months, nobody's going to come back to us. So yeah, that's one thing that is stuck with us.
Okay, so going back to going to our next question. Given your vision, do you foresee your company surpassing major players in the future?
Yes. See, that's why, like you said, vision. I mean, it's a vision, and it's a vision's always good to have that, which is a little beyond people what they would think. But yes, I do. Because like I said, with the collaborations that if we make it happen, individually I will not be able to. I mean, I can probably, but it's going to take a very long time. And that is going to be a little too, I think it's egoistic and it's not smart to do. The best way to do is collaborate with people, find the right energy, because they will do majority of your work. You have to only then focus on your manufacturing and how you develop your R&D center, and how you can change and improvise your products. What are you good at? They will come into the picture with delivering things that they are good at. So when you work as a team, your job is easier. Me as a manufacturer and I go around everybody, meeting all the clients and trying to make things happen. It's going to be a lot more tougher. So collaborate, they bring in the technology, their expertise, you bring in your technology, your expertise. So yes, I do certainly, at least in Asia, we want to give a very strong competition to the companies on the eastern side. And there are a few giants in the west. We do certainly look at this being a very, very, very big game changer.
Okay. So talking about the Asian market, so how many competitors there are like currently?
I think there are a couple in the neighboring country.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in India, do we have it?
No, we don't.
We don't.
No.
Okay. So we have a much bigger scope.
Yes, and there's a lot of projects over here, So what has happened is also the Asian market is slightly conquered, like from, like I said, the neighboring countries having a couple. It's a lot of dominance even from the Western companies because they were they're 100 years old and, 120 years old. But they still work on the same standard and timelines of things where, the pricing is extremely high in Europe, the products that are being made over there. And, there are products that are being in the US. They're extremely, ineffective to be shipped over here and the costing comes down to the play. Then the timelines really increase a lot.
Yeah.
Availability of raw material becomes a question. India is abundant with everything. So I think it's a great huge scope that we have.
Talking about our neighbors, do you think China is going big in this sector because of the cheap labor or cheap manufacturing?
See, I'll tell you, Mayur. So there are two things. The labor is not cheap there.
Mm-hmm.
They're very well paid, right? So they're extremely well paid. So the labor is not cheap. Second thing is that it's only cost effective, their products, is because of the potential or the amount of work these laborers put in. The deliverables and stuff, their hard work is tremendous. I mean, and they operate, like I said, they would operate like 6-8 machines at once. And I've seen that happen. So their output, so their labor, their wages are also based on their output.
Yeah.
So that ways, yes. And not just this sector. They have been there in every sector. I think they're dominating around the world. So even in this sector, they are very active globally and they're very good at it. As in terms of reaching out to the market. But is the product that good? No.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something we've experienced it firsthand. So there are a lot of failures that happen and, plus and minuses happen. And we have a good, healthy competition. I know a few of them personally also. I meet them when we catch up. So there are certain things they try and enter our market. We can't even enter their market.
Yeah.
So we need that support of our teams over here, our Indian family to not let somebody else enter. But otherwise, yeah. I mean, they're there, but in pricing, again, they might be slightly cheaper or as competitive, but doesn't make a difference. We are very confident on our product and what we're delivering, the quality standards that we are maintaining. And we have a list of projects to show where certain places they are not even allowed.
Okay.
Unfortunately or fortunately, but they are not allowed. The Chinese the companies and all for these particular works, they're banned because it's a lot of risk. It's a lot of risk to human life. It's a lot of risk to environmental health, environmental life, marine life, and then project shutting down and the loss per hour, like you have hundreds of thousands of tons of losses. So nobody wants to risk that. And also in our industry, once you're blacklisted, you're out.
Okay.
One failure and you're out. Yeah. You can get probably one replacement. Otherwise, you get blacklisted. And most of them are. So I'm not worried about them entering our side of the market. So that ways I'm quite secure. Okay. They are good in their country and they're doing good there.
And how do you get blacklisted in this sector?
No, that's because of failures. You don't deliver your products in time. Number one reason is always the pipeline failure, because there's a lot of marine life, like I said, gets affected by it. And there's a lot of marine life that it's an environmental hazard. Then, of course, your project cost has shot up tremendously because of your pipelines has failed. So they need to get the entire dredger back, the project stops, the pumping stops, and it takes about nothing less than a week, 10 days to again, reinstall it and get a replacement and do it. So 10 days loss of work is millions and millions of dollars.
Okay.
So then the trust is lost.
And what is the so it's a very interesting topic. So I'm talking about it for the first time.
Sure, no worries.
So what is the lifespan of a drainage pipe?
So this is a dredging pipe.
Dredging pipe,
right?
yeah, sorry.
So what happens is the lifespan, I'll tell you. So there is a standard world warranty, okay, which is about 12 months of operational warranty and 18 months from date of 18 months from the date of invoice. But there are certain projects which we give them lifespan, warranties for 36 months.
Okay.
There are certain we give for 60 months.
Okay.
So it's the build quality, right? Because not every time that the pipeline is being used that is run 24 hours. So it's project wise. But the cost difference is also huge, right? It's tremendous. And there are certain regions, certain countries where you have to stand, like I told you have to adhere to their standards. So if they have a rule that you have to give 48 months, you have to give 48 months. Now it's in your hand. Do you want to risk it? If you're not confident of your product, then do not deliver, because if you do, you will get blacklisted, and if it
Yeah.
goes failure, right? So it's the design factor that's coming. So then the engineering team is on their complete thing. The how do we ensure, and then we need to get soil testing overdone. You need to get the finer things, because not every ocean is the same. There are corals somewhere which is extremely corrosive. There are regions where you have mountainous rocks over there, extremely hard rocks that you find, which will tear into your pipeline completely. So you need to get that soil study done. Based on that, you have to do reverse engineering and then design your product and deliver,
Okay.
which most countries companies don't do. We do that. Yeah.
Okay. And so we have to replace that pipe completely after that warranty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
No,
so,
you can continue till it doesn't last. I mean, but you'll know when the wear and tear is going to happen.
Oh.
See, also that's where your certain things like sensors and all come into play. So there's a sensor, it's reached its level. You know that in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it's going to go off. So you replace it. So you don't stall your work. It's not an abrupt disruption.
so talking about the norms, which part is very strict with the norms? Like they want this much warranty. They are very particular with that standard of.
I think the Middle East, even more than the Europeans, yes. Because though they follow the European standards and stuff, there are certain things that are extremely. See, it's a melting pot of people from all over the world, right? So you will have somebody from the East over there, somebody from Japan over there in the working in the organizer, somebody's from Europe, somebody's from US. Each one has their own inputs and standards that they want to put in. Somebody is really good from India over there, somebody in India. So he'll say, no, this also has to be added. So they make up their own standards, and it is, yeah, but it's good fun to work because you learn a lot. Like we have learned a lot, but every time it's a different case.
Okay. So it's a mix of all.
Yeah, all the best of the quality assurances that you need to give them will come and pool in together, and then yes, you need to deliver on that.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, it's a fantastic experience. I think every manufacturer should go through it. You might feel like it's a pain, it delays your production processes and all. No, it ensures that your product is 100% foolproof.
Okay. So
And
now,
we in fact made it a standard in our company now. This is what we're going to follow.
okay.
Yeah.
Great. So now talking about the main and important question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are we planning to enter into IPO market, because there is a lot of news going on around in 2024 that we are your company is going to get listed?
Yes, see, you're very right about that. 2024 was the target for us to enter the IPO market. But, there are 2-3 things again in that which has, delayed it. The thing is, first, there are too many files over there in SEBI. So there was a lot of delay that was happening. My team is constantly working on it. They have been on it. And, we finalized our merchant banker also. And then in the next few months, it should be announced as well. But there was also at the same time, we had a project that had come in from overseas. And our guys were tremendously, totally working on that, because it was for one of the big major government projects which we'd received from an overseas project I was telling you about.
Yeah.
And that has really helped us in pushing our business forward, which has given us even more amount of work from them and trust in them. And hopefully in the next month, we should be getting a very big project through them or from them.
Okay.
So that has really slowed it down a little bit. But yes, 2025 is the year, and we're looking at, somewhere around Marchish, April is where the announcement or something would happen. So it is expected around that time. And like I said, there are too many files in SEBI right now. So things have slowed down a little bit. It is not as quick as it used to be earlier, but it will for sure. It will be happen. And like I said, team is constantly working on it.
Okay. So once you go public, in a future terms, I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Once you go public, what is the potential growth that you're looking at?
See, once we go public, what happens is it gives us a lot of confidence. The reason also why we are choosing to do this is to gain a lot of trust. What happens is when you're a public limited company, there's a lot of trust factor that you build up with a lot of nations, not just organizations, but also nations. Now, because we are focusing on a lot of projects with, like, for example, they're investing trillions of dollars in Saudi Arabia, right? For building up. Neom City is coming up. King Abdullah Fahd Park is coming up. And they have 6 other regions over there which are developing.
Yeah.
So that is tremendous. Now, for them to execute or give work to somebody where we would want to, and these are all government projects or, by the government of Saudi. So if we want to do dredging works there, or if we want to get into the mining works over there, the build factor, the factor of trust that you build with a public limited company is going to make a huge difference for us, which is a fact. Everybody knows, right? So it's not just the government, and it's not just the organizations that we're building trust with, but it's also the governments of different nations. It makes it easier for us to get orders, get our tenders, get our projects over there assigned, and all that stuff. One is that. Second thing, it makes it for us, there are going to be some major projects what we're looking at in the future for expansion and all. For us to do reinvestment of these for the plant and facility that we need, which is everything is going back into that, we need to set up. And they will also be, we've thought in future, we will need to be mobile centers also, like not just Hyderabad cannot be or India can be the base. We will also be looking at setting up factories. The eastern belt of Africa was one option. Then, like I said, in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia is a great option. We've been looking at that. Certain places, the policies of visas and all is a little difficult. So we're looking at where is it easy to do it. Because there is a tremendous amount of requirements there. The African market we have not even spoken about because that is so huge.
Yeah.
The entire continent is on dredging, and Tanzania is growing, Kenya is growing. There's a lot of dredging works that are happening there, which they're going to start, which have been announced. So we need to have these centers. And so our goal for the entire, going public was that this is which is going to give us a lot of accessibility into regions and markets which we are not able to tap right now, to gain that trust factor and to build that, that brand that we want to.
Okay. So my last and final question is, what is the long-term plan of BLSX in the listed market, and can investors have a long-term vision to hold and expect multiple returns type?
Right. See, our long-term plans, good question, Mayu. Again, see, our long-term plans is very simple. We want to be the infrastructure head with a powerhouse within the country and within at least our Asian region, or, I would love to say world, but at least over here, where we are doing things which not many people are doing. And we want to be sector specific. There are also going to be certain sectors which are going to be added. Some might reduce, but dredging is for sure going to be there. The mining sector is going to be there. The aerospace is always going to be there. There are two other which I told you we will announce very soon, which will come up also in that. They're definitely going to be there. Now we want to expand and become a powerhouse of doing things unique. Now in each sector, there are certain things. There's so many components that come together and build that, right? But there's one major factor that we're going to be a part of. It's that literally like I ask people what holds the ship together, Is it the anchor or is it the thing? I always tell people it's the rope because it's always under pressure. So we want to be that rope tying our nation's entire, infrastructure strengths to making it a absolute manufacturing powerhouse. So we want to be the link between that, where infrastructure development is a part of it, and over here manufacturing sector growing is a part of it. So that's our vision, and by 2030, I really want to be. I wish that we are at such a platform that globally everybody knows us. We're in the top 3, top 5 manufacturing companies, which are around in the world in at least our field and work. Hopefully we can add a few more sectors in that. So keeping that in mind, there is tremendous amount of growth in this investing into BLSX Limited. I would always tell the investors that also is because we are the only ones firstly doing. And there's a study, there's great surveys that are done on it. You can see the amount of growth that is happening globally over these industries that we are specifically talking about. We have been branded as one of the best within the country, at least to make the, for the pipelines and things that we are into. So we are proven. It's not that we're starting off now. This is an effort of 30 years that my father's put in, 35 years in the last 16 years, where I've added certain things and values to it. We are here to stay. It's a big team of people. And the way 2030, the world plans are, whether it's Saudi to build NEO, whether it's India's plan, whether it's Middle East, whether it's the US, everybody needs to be a part. This is an essential part. This is an essential industry for it to grow. Aerospace, dredging, mining, and certain aspects of, defense and infrastructure and construction. So yeah, that's definitely it. It would grow multiple folds, and we are very, very confident of it.
So it's a bright future for investors.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And along with them for us also, because our first goal and motto is for the investors to be safe and for their money to grow. Ultimately, we want that. So we're looking at a very good valuation in the coming few years. And we're speaking to merchant bankers right now. So like I said that, even the announcement will be made soon.
Yeah.
And they will grow their money multiple folds. That I'm sure of.
Okay. So this would be the end of the question rounds.
Lovely.
And yeah, it was lovely talking to you. Great knowledge.
Ari, thank you so much, Mayur. It was
you.
lovely talking to you.
Yeah.
This felt like a very easy conversation.
Yeah.
It felt like there was so much I had forgotten and I could share with you.
Yeah.
On a personal level as well. You took me back to these journeys and memories which I had no clue about.
Good old days.
Yeah, the good old days, and I'm loving the present days even more.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank
Yeah,
you so
sir.
much, Mayur,
Thank you,
for
sir.
having me on your show.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.